Here I am to spill the beans on how Gong has been doing this so effectively that I'm honestly shocked that more companies are not doing this. We're sometimes over-reliant on all this automation crap. We like that it saves our team work, but we don't realize what we're giving up in return. There's two ways you can use AI. One way is to automate something away so you can take the human out of it. The other one is to augment the human being so that they're working together. Right. Always focus on the attendee's experience, the other person's experience. What would they want to do to make this easier and frictionless? Even if that means creating more work for your team. The only purpose of the subject line is to get people to open the email. Now that sounds so obvious, but if you look at your inbox right now, you'll see that 99 out of 100 emails don't follow that rule. Acting swiftly and decisively was the right way to go, and it quickly extinguished the flames that could have gotten much bigger in this case. The worst thing that can happen to you is not that some people hate what you're doing. The worst thing that can happen to you is indifference.
I'm so grateful that the LinkedIn photo controversy was left out of the original recording here, so I'm in good shape.
No, we're bringing it back now.
Udi, what are your thoughts on my LinkedIn photo again?
It looked like it was taken while dropping in an elevator or a high-speed train. I'm not sure.
And of a different person.
Let's call it dynamic.
Let me just explain one thing to everyone in the audience. One is I don't take very good pictures.
So it's on brand. That's perfectly on brand then.
Yes. Well said. What's crazy is I had to desperately tried to change pictures because the original one that was up there was more professional, but it looked like someone had used a air pump and pumped me. I mean, I was like 25 pounds, way heavier. And so I had to take that off. And then I went with another photo that everyone hated. Literally, there was complaints in the office about it. And so I changed to this one, and this one has not gone well. Matt and I were just doing a call, and this person's from LinkedIn. Ruby from LinkedIn gets on it. It says, I have an agenda item I'd like to talk to you about. At the end of the call, she brings up the LinkedIn photo. I mean,
I'll tell you, as a marketer, Craig, can I just give you my professional opinion, and that is that you are winning.
Yeah, the engagement war.
And I'll tell you why. Because the worst thing that can happen to you is not that some people hate what you're doing. The worst thing that can happen to you is indifference. And you are getting anything but that. Some people love it, some people hate it, but everyone's talking about it. So you are winning, my friend.
Oh my God.
Streets are talking. Streets are talking.
The streets is talking.
From ABM to PLG, from Medic to MedPick, the world of business is constantly evolving. We'll cover the who, what, where, when, why, and most importantly, how you get the transaction. I'm Matt Amundson, and he's Craig Rosenberg. Let's get started.
All right, so here's what we got today. I can't believe it's taken us this long to have Udi on because he's been mentioned. So Udi, you've been mentioned multiple times on the show.
Yeah.
Hopefully some of them in good context.
No,
all of them.
Well, Matt always used you guys as an example of how you used the content that was driven from your own product to drive a narrative that's right now the brand around Gong is extraordinary. Mm-hmm. And so and we were just remembering the days in the early days where you guys were taking it was Orlob, everyone, you guys were taking real phone information from conversations and turning it into interesting content when nobody was talking about it. It was man. So yeah, so now we brought you up multiple times. This was also a test to see if you actually listen to the show on a regular basis. So now we know the truth there. I'm just kidding. That's totally fine. The so yeah, for the audience, I'm actually normally we lead up to the end. I'm just gonna say we have Udi Ledergor famous to us
for
everyone. One of the best. Well, yeah. I mean, but for Matt and I on a personal level, the sort of SaaS AI branding exercise is like a model. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we keep mentioning. So we're really excited to have Udi on the show and talk about these things, and kind of what we can all learn from it as an audience on what we could do with what he's learned. So this show we are very excited, Udi, to have you on for literally like you are an example to us on what you should be doing when you're building a company. So thanks for coming on.
Excitement is mutual.
We don't believe you, but we appreciate the kind words. Yeah. So
let's move on gracefully.
So we have. Whoa! I just flipped. My screen just flipped in upside down.
That was interesting. Yeah. It
Yeah,
goes well with
well,
the profile photo on LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, we might as well make that my profile photo. Okay, so there's two parts of the show. So part number one is really, we have a lot of fun with. We just asked the guests to tell us a go-to-market story. Could be, funny, could be harrowing, could be, heroic, whatever we just love hearing stories, and you probably have a million of them from building Gong. And then the second part is the basis of the show is to learn from people like you on what strategies, tactics, etc. work in today's really dynamic market. And that's just giving it a really nice sort of high level term. I mean, it's crazy. And so we just have two bullet points and then we talk. So the first one we'll start with is, Udi, if you have a story for us, we'll just sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll enjoy it. We'll go with the harrowing if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I like it.
If it's harrowing, I think let's see. You know what? We'll be the judge. Go.
That word confused me for years because I kept expecting something about heroes, but it's actually very saddening. So yeah, here we go. So this story took place a few years ago, actually during the height of the pandemic and the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement after the murder of George Floyd in 2020. It was another day in the office at Gong, a rather remote office at Gong. And we were told by G2 that we need to collect more reviews before they do their quarterly tally, and that some of the other players were accumulating more reviews that quarter, and that we should send out another one of those review collection campaigns. For those who've never done it, typically looks like this. We send out an email to people that we suspect are happy users of our product, and we say, hey, Matt, hey, Craig, thanks for your high NPS scores. It's thanks to raving fans like you that we grow and succeed. We'd love for you to write your honest opinion on this link and fill out a G2 review. And to thank you for your time, here's a Starbucks gift card to get yourself a cup of coffee or something like that. And so we were about to send out the email when one of the customer marketers on my team had an idea. She said, we like to do good and we like to make this world a little bit of a better place. With everything going on now, what if we switch things up a little bit, and instead of offering folks a random gift card for Amazon or Starbucks, we tell them that we'll donate in their name to a Black Lives Matter nonprofit. So there were a few of them out there doing great work to forward the causes of Black Lives Matter. And the idea seemed reasonable. And I said, yeah, why wouldn't people like this, right? They don't have to do anything except spend 30 seconds writing a review that they'd probably do anyway. And we get to donate on their behalf. And we set aside several thousands of dollars to donate to Black Lives Matter causes. And so we send out the email, literally the same email we've used multiple times before, very successfully. We knew it should drive a few hundred reviews. We just switched out the gift card offer with "we'll donate in your name for a Black Lives Matter nonprofit." Within 40 minutes of sending that email, I got a dozen livid emails in my inbox. The first ones came directly from the recipients of the email, who said something along the lines of, "This is the most offensive thing I've ever seen. I can't believe Gong is doing this." One of them said, "I hope my Black sales leader didn't receive this email, or we probably won't be doing business with you." The next emails came in from board members who had heard about it already within the hour, from our customers who were threatening to stop doing business with us. My CEO forwarded one of them from another board member with similar tone. So it was clear that we had messed up. It was clear that we had messed up. And I had to act fast and decide, do I kind of let this die out and hope that most people, as in the case of most emails, don't even open the email and don't see what we send out? Or do I take action and risk increasing the visibility of the email, but try and make right? And I very quickly decided that the latter would be the right approach. That is, take action, take full ownership, and see what I can do to make it better. And the premise was, I told you I got about a dozen emails. And my thinking was, for every one of those dozen, there's probably 10 or 20 more who feel the same way as the folks who took the time and energy to write me back. But those other folks, they either didn't have the words, or they didn't have the time, or they just didn't care enough to write me what they felt about the campaign. And so I thought, if that's the case, I've probably pissed off dozens, if not hundreds of people at this point, because the email went out to, I think, like 6,000 people asking for reviews. So not a small group. And I thought, if I got a dozen, they're probably representing like 100 or more. And so very quickly, we turned around another email that went out to the same 6,000 people. But if the first one was, I think, from a generic email address signed by the Gong marketing team, the second one came from Udi's inbox at my Gong email and was signed with my name and full email. And I just said, folks, we messed up. I messed up. I said, I messed up. I sent you an email a couple of hours ago. It was not worded in the way that we wanted to, and we clearly shouldn't have connected the reviews that we'd love for you to write with donating for an important cause. And I'm sorry that went out. It should not have gone out. Here's what we're doing instead. We're immediately donating the entire budget that we allocated of so-and-so thousands of dollars to these two Black Lives Matter organizations. We hope you can forgive us for this messing up. I'll make sure it never happens again. And if you have any other feedback or want to chat, here's my email, and just feel free to reach out. And I sent that email out, and very quickly I got, I think the number was like 60 something emails back. So like my inbox was completely flooded. And in this case, all the emails were positive. So a few of them were from the same people who originally sent the complaints, this time saying, thank you for taking ownership and making this right. A lot of the others were kind of one of two options. Half of them said, I didn't even feel that anything was so wrong with the original email you sent, but thank you for noticing and sending out this apology. This is what we expect from Gong and from you. And the other part of the emails confirmed what I felt about the original responses, where they said, I read your original email, something about it felt off, but I couldn't find the words to tell you what was wrong with it. So thank you for doing this and making it right. We appreciate Gong, and we'll go write that review that you asked for. And so that's how that ended, almost as abruptly as it started, within a few hours. Including the few customers who threatened to stop doing business with us, retracting that and saying that they accept the apology. But the lessons from that were a couple. Maybe here's the top three. Number one was, Gong is known for being cheeky and edgy and inserting humor into things. None of that was intended in this case. I was not trying to be humorous or make lighthearted about Black Lives Matter or anything going on at the time. But if anything, this taught us that there are issues where we have to be extra careful about. And when there's global and social issues with this type of rawness and sensitivities, we have to tread very, very carefully, and should have added more layers of approving this campaign in the first place, which I approved. So I took full responsibility for. It was a very good team member who had a reasonable idea that I approved. I probably should have checked with a couple more people to make sure, or even just given more thought myself, which I didn't do. So that was one lesson. The second lesson was that my hunch about more people being impacted by the campaign and feeling bad about it than the ones who actually wrote about it was absolutely true, as evidenced by the large number of people who wrote back after the apology email. So that's I think a generic lesson to remember. Like if you get a handful of complaints about something, they're probably representing a much larger group that just doesn't care enough to write you, or don't have the time, or don't have the words. But you should not assume that you just pissed off 3 people if you get 3 responses. You probably pissed off 30 or 300. They just didn't write you. So respond as if 300 people were pissed off. And then the third lesson was acting quickly and assertively and proactively, and not hoping that this will die over and waiting days to see, well, maybe we can just ignore this, or let's have committees and meetings next week to decide what to do. That would have been the wrong approach, and would have escalated everything, and it would have exploded, and people would have started sharing it on social media, and God knows where else this would have gone. So acting swiftly and decisively was the right way to go, and it quickly sort of extinguished the flames that could have gotten much bigger in this case. So I promised you a harrowing tale. I think I delivered.
Jesus.
Yes.
That is my story, folks.
What the? Whew. That was gripping. Yeah. So let's go through ratings. Story, gripping.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Script.
I mean,
movie script quality.
I didn't interrupt once.
Yeah.
I didn't multitask. Like I was like, wow. Harrowing, yes.
Yes.
I mean, wow. That was incredible. And
it was not a fun day in the office, I'll tell you that.
No, I imagine. Yeah, you probably didn't sleep well that night.
No.
But I would say like part of it too, where when you said, no, look, I decided to decisively send the email from me. That is Gong.
Yeah.
Like in many ways, that was incredibly on brand to, because part of the cheeky, sort of fun content thing also makes you guys highly personable.
Totally.
And like, and so you coming in with the way you did from your email almost immediately, that seemed completely on brand.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right, Craig. Part of what we do is always authentic and sincere, and we've codified some of that in Gong's leadership principles, one of which is simply called no royalty, which means being in a leadership position doesn't give us a lot of perks, it gives us extra responsibility. And that means that I don't get to push anyone else under the bus when something like this happens. I have to step up and offer my head if needed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the things that I've always really admired about the Gong brand is very human. It's very human. Like Craig and I talk a lot about like great marketing that we see from other SaaS companies. It's in a lot of cases, it's very hard to associate that with a person unless we know the person directly, right? Like, we I worked at Marketo, so we know people like Maria Pergolino, we know John Miller very well. One of the things that I thought was so incredible about Gong during the like sort of the scale up stage of Gong was that like it was like this information is coming out. It's really, really impactful stuff. It was like, like the 4 things that if you say on a phone call, like you'll lose a deal, or replace these 4 things with this to improve your win rate by 70%. And because it often came from Chris, it was like just a sales leader telling a other sales leaders like, hey, like
yes.
Nudge, nudge, here's some really good advice that's totally driven by data, right? Like, I'm sure you've been thinking this. Let me confirm that with some really good data. And I think that that's one of the things that when I think about Gong as a brand is like always so exceptional is like, it just felt like people helping people, right? Like, hey, I know this thing and I think you know it too, but let me just confirm it for you for forever because you've got a CRO to talk to, or you have customers to talk to, you have a board that you're responsible to. Like, let me give you the data that you need to just absolutely crush. And that's part of why I think the brand worked so well, and part of why copycat brand that's like, hey, we're just going to come out with all these really great reports that are all about, that are based on data that we have exclusively, don't hit the same way. It feels like sort of like that last kind of sprinkle of magic dust was how personal the brand always felt to me.
And you're absolutely right, Matt. And that was very intentional, because when we sat down, a very small team was me and Amit, my CEO and co-founder. Orlob was involved in some of this in the early days. We sat with an agency who kind of facilitated an exercise to determine what our brand personality is. And one of the things that I think came out of that workshop that remains with us to this day, which makes us very unique, is this. If you think about every startup in every field, you ask them, like, what do you want to be known for? And they'll all tell you in some version or another, we want to be known as the authority and thought leader in our space, right? Who doesn't want to? Now, we also wanted to be trusted as a thought leader in our space, but here's what we did differently. We married that quality with another quality. While most companies confuse being thought leaders and just an authority in their space with being boring and stuffy and condescending, we decided to marry that trustworthy thought leader with just being a relaxed, friendly guy who wants to help you out. And that was a very intentional decision that we made. Like, we want to unbutton that shirt collar and the tie and let our hair down and not be the obnoxious guy at a bar when you go to a party and someone's just talking about themselves and you're looking for an escape route. We don't want to be that guy or that brand. We want to be the guy that asks you how your day was and finds your story fascinating and communicates in a friendly way that you want to stay and have another drink with them. And I think that's what we attempted to create, and in most parts we did.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's cool. What a great start to the show. All right, so we can piggyback that because there was a lot of really good lessons there for everyone. But so next, like, give us, your sort of 1 to 3 best practices, strategies, et cetera, that you feel like should be employed today to be successful from the go-to-market side. Well, I'm not going to say anymore. I'm really looking forward to this.
Okay, so let me start with one that kind of piggybacks on the last piece of conversation that we had on the friendly tone. And then the second one, I promise, will be about AI, because we have to, right? So, so let's start with one that's not AI. It's actually so old school, and that's why it works. So here it is. You know how most event invites look like in B2B marketing. You get this really well-designed email with headshots of speakers and panels and everything, and then click here to save your spot, and then you get this long form asking you everything about your contact details and your, I don't know, shoe size and dietary preferences. And I just wanted to sign up for the event and get the recording. Like, I don't need all this crap. And that, of course, as we'll tell you, any event manager, results in pretty low engagement and registration for most events, right? And very few events actually sell out and wish they had fewer attendees. So when we were about to start promoting one of Gong's Celebrate events, we thought, well, what if we looked at that invitation process and kind of re-engineered it to see what could we do to make it super easy for folks to sign up, because they want to sign up, but they just don't want to go through all that clicking and landing pages and forms. And we thought, well, okay, what do we do when we want to invite our family over for Sunday brunch? Do we send them a landing page with a form to fill out? I don't know about you, but I don't. We just say, hey, folks, like, we'll send a group chat message or something saying, folks, 11 a.m., brunch our place, who's in? And then they'll either give you a thumbs up or say yes, and they're in, right? It could be that simple. So we said, okay, how do we replicate that in a B2B context? And so here's what we did. We compiled a list of emails already in our system of everyone who attended last year's Celebrate event. And then we said, okay, we're going to send them out a plain text email. No HTML, no graphics, no headshots, no panels, no logos, nothing in there. It came out from Danny. Danny was the event manager at Gong at the time, Danny Hutto. Great guy. And so it came from Danny, a real name, a real person. And the plain text email just said something like this. Hey, Matt, we're stoked that you came last year to celebrate. We wanted you to be one of the first to know that the new Celebrate event is coming up in 3 months. The website isn't even up yet, but if you reply to this email, yes, I will get you signed up and send you all the info when it's ready. That was it. So instead of asking you to click through somewhere and fill out a form and wait for pages to load, we just asked you to reply yes. Simply reply yes. The first test that we sent that email out to a couple of thousand folks, we got 700 yeses on that day. So we had 700 people signed up for the event before we even put up a website, because we made it easy for them. And that's what I meant by just going old school. Like, how would you invite your family and friends to brunch? Think that way, and you'll get more people engaged, because you have to make it easy on them. So that's one fun story that I think just has lessons for all of us. One of them, in this case, being like, always focus on the attendee's experience, the other person's experience. What would they want to do to make this easier and frictionless, even if that means creating more work for your team? Because poor Danny had to sit for hours updating his spreadsheets on the back end because those darn people didn't fill out any neat forms that went into your Marketo forms and filled out the CRM. None of that happened automatically. Danny had to do that himself. But was that worth a day of his work to get 700 attendees? You bet it was. So that's a fun story, and it's got nothing to do with AI. And I think we're sometimes over reliant on all this automation crap, and we like that it saves our team work, but we don't realize what we're giving up in return. We're giving up attendees and engagement and downloads and all that stuff.
Okay, that was a great tidbit and story. Matt does send his family landing pages for when he's organizing dinners, just as a heads up.
I am not coming to your next brunch.
It's only because they're all boomers and they won't know how to fill it out.
Opt-ins. It's, would you be open to receiving content from Matt over time as well?
Absolutely. I bet he puts his family on a nurture track after they sign up for the first brunch.
But I just love the idea of like, what is the attendee or the prospect or the customer, what experience they want. We just did a session with Brent Adamson. We've had him on the show a couple. I don't know if you've read his new book, but that's his thing is like, can we switch? We gotta switch seats here, and we got to figure out like, what they want to be doing and what's best for them, and just something as simple as that is great. By the way, I will mention, this is not but like Topo, we did it a little different, which was there was Craig.ai. So basically we sent every email invite from me, and we just said, hey, let me know. And they had to pay to go. So we'd say I could have Sam, Sam. I forget Mark, I'll introduce you to Mark, but it was Mark. I didn't send any of those emails. And so people would just write back, yes, I'm in. And he'd be like, great, you want to just jump on a call? You can give me your credit card, I'll do it. So like literally we probably got 50 regs out of the 1,800. Everything else was effectuated by Mark, and it was easier for them that way. And it was great. The funny thing was I would go to the summit, the Topo Summit, and people like, dude, thanks for reaching out on the event. I'd be like, great, yes. I'm looking at their name tag to figure out who it was. But yeah. No,
that was my AI clone. I'm Craig, not .ai.
Same idea. All right, keep going. That was great.
Okay, here's a cool AI one that I completely stole from my friend Kyle Lacey over at Dashibo.
Well, he does.
And I just love it, so I keep repeating it because I think more people should be using it. And it kind of flips the idea of using AI on its head. Instead of directly asking AI to help us, it's actually a good way of getting AI out of our way, and I'll explain. So let's say we're sitting in a creative meeting trying to come up with the next idea for our Super Bowl commercial. Okay, take this whatever you want. So what some people might think they could do now is let's open ChatGPT and ask it, say, this is our product, this is our market. Give us 10 ideas for a creative brief for our Super Bowl commercial, right? And then they're like, great, we have all these great ideas. Let's go rank them and pick one and go do them. Well, Kyle has a much better idea. He starts with that same way. We get in the room, we open ChatGPT, give us 10 creative ideas for our Super Bowl commercials. And now we table all those 10 ideas and never look at them again. That is correct use of AI because those 10 ideas are the most obvious, regurgitated, overdone ideas in the world because that's how LLMs are designed. They read all this content that they were trained on and they repeat with the highest likelihood the most regurgitated, overdone ideas. That's what it's feeding you. So if you're using AI in any form or way for that sort of creative work, you're doing it wrong. You're not developing a unique, fresh point of view. You're just repeating what everyone is already doing, otherwise known as best practices, which in reality, of course, are boring practices because by the time anything becomes a best practice, everyone is doing it. So it's going to be boring and stale, and you're never going to get something extraordinary out of it. So I love that idea of let's use AI almost like a jiu-jitsu move. We'll take what it's good at and then use it against itself by tabling those ideas. So now we know what not to do because these are the most obvious, and let's go develop our own. But by now our creative juices are flowing because we just saw 10 ideas, which is way easier to use as a starting point than a blank slate.
AI with a twist.
Yeah.
Right?
My man. What do you think of that one, Matt?
I think it's so smart, right? Like honestly, if you're doing that,
I love that.
1,000 other people are also doing that, right? So you might as well just, cease with the obvious answers, right? Like we all know as marketers, the more obvious you are, the less engaged and interested people are going to be. Yes. People love stuff that comes out of left field. So I think that is one of the smartest little hacks that I've heard for using an LLM in a long time.
Yeah, all credit to Kyle Lacey here. I bet he stole it as well, but it's just so good I had to share it.
We'll take, with proper attribution, Udi, this is
yes.
fun,
Steal like an artist.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to try to give you my take here really quick. It might get confusing. Matt and I were on an earlier call with someone. I kept confusing everyone on the call.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that, Matt. She kept having to say, so do I have to... Oh, whatever, Sam. No, I'm just kidding. So there's this thing, though, which is that's not an argument to not use AI. Because, look, I'm back on the speaking circuit, and 40% of the audience are the same guys that complained about the original sales tech movement. And I'm telling you, and they're like, well, what about the human element? And I'm like, yeah, the human element can be faster and even better using AI, not to replace your thoughts, but to enable your thoughts. And I don't know, when there was one of the things I thought of when you were talking, you weren't saying don't use AI. You're saying here's the best way to use it.
Correct.
Because, it's like I'm just sitting there on the show. I'm like, well, you know what, man? Honestly, we don't have time for this. People are here. Don't use it. It's fine. You won't win, but don't use it. Or I tell people, you know what you could do? Here's my tip. Go try to take the AI away from your employees and see how they react. Because, at the end of the day, by the way, I used to tell people that in sales tech too. It's well, you think all you want about ROI, but why don't you ask the sales leader if you took away Gong? They'd say, I'm over my dead body, right?
Right.
Because they're using it.
You're making an important distinction, Craig, that I'd like to use just some words to label it, which is there's two ways you can use AI. One way is to automate something away so you can take the human out of it. The other one is to augment the human being so that they're working together. Right. Now, there are valid use cases for automating things, right? There are things that you do not need the human involved. Updating your CRM, thank God we don't need humans to do that anymore. AI can fully automate that and we all get that time back. But there are things like coming up with a creative idea for your next Super Bowl commercial where the best use of AI is to augment human intelligence and not replace it to make sure that you're getting the best that you can produce there. And there's going to be many such cases. So yes, it's saying, and of course there's going to be tasks where you don't want to use AI, right? If you want to come and console someone after a great loss, you don't want to send them an AI generated message. You actually want to come and be your unpolished human self and do that. So you need to understand which situations are best for automating away with AI, which ones are best for augmenting human intelligence with AI, and which ones you probably shouldn't be using AI at all.
Yeah. True that.
Yes.
All right. What else you got for us?
Oh, geez. What else you got for us, Udi?
Dude, okay, all right. But here's the thing. Those were two really good, like, usable ideas.
No, I agree. I
but it's just the way I said it.
It's okay. I always say my husband is thrilled anytime I get the opportunity to lecture anywhere outside our home. So thank you on his behalf. Here's another fun one to maybe address the gated versus ungated content debate.
Sure.
It seems to be persisting after all these years. So there were years that everyone was writing obituaries for gated content and then for ungated content. And of course, the truth is way more nuanced than that. So with your permission, I'll just walk you through the tactics of how I think about it in a very popular context of, let's say I know my audience is somewhere on social media, let's say LinkedIn, where we all live in this day and age. And I want to turn as many of them as I can into known leads on my website. So how do I go about that? Do I use gated content? Do I use ungated content? How do I even get them from LinkedIn to my website? Here I am to spill the beans on how Gong has been doing this for quite a few years now, so effectively that I'm honestly shocked that more companies are not doing this. Here's what we do. So let's say we publish a new article, like the Chris Orlob style articles that you mentioned of why swearing on sales calls will result in an 8% higher win rate. That's a real stat. And that's a real article. So
the way for that one.
Right?
Yes. Woo.
And that's the real shit there.
God damn. Let's go.
So here's how we do it.
Sake.
The first thing we do, I want to go to where the party is at. And the party is at LinkedIn. That is where my audience is at, right? I can't cram them all to my website magically. So I go to where they're at, which is LinkedIn. And I publish the article as a public article, ungated, because that's the only way you can publish an article on LinkedIn. There is no option to gate it, right? So I'll publish, let's say, under my name in this case. Now, great. I get Gong's profiles to amplify the message. I get all of our Gongsters I activate all of the Gongsters so that they also share the message. So now hundreds of people are sharing this and thousands of people are viewing it, but all of them are anonymous readers, right? They're on LinkedIn. I don't know who they are, but I know that they're reading my article. Now, yes, there are some scraping tools to see like who liked it, but let's put those aside. Let's try to keep this clean. So here's what we do to convert a lot of those into known leads that I can actually continue emailing and selling to and call them if I want. So here's what I do. Let's say I'm writing this article about why swearing on sales calls work, and you should do it too. So I publish that on LinkedIn, and then halfway down in the article, and again at the end, I'll put a call to action, which offers you a premium piece of content on the exact same topic, knowing that you're interested in this topic right now, and you're already getting value from my public domain article. So if you're reading that article about swearing on sales calls, I might say, hey, if you're enjoying this read, download this cheat sheet of the top 20 swear words you should use on your next sales call. Now, if you're halfway reading this article, you are very enthusiastic about using swear words on your sales calls. There's a very good chance you're going to click that link to download the cheat sheet of the 20 top swear words you should be using. What that does, it takes you to a landing page on Gong's website, where we now ask you just for your email, not for your shoe size, not for your phone number, not for your social security, just your email to download that cheat sheet. And you know what? We see conversion rates of 70 to 80% on those landing pages, 70 to 80%, because this is an asset that we curated especially for that public domain article that you were already reading. So we know you're in that zone, you're in that mental space. I am now excited about swearing on sales calls. Tell me more. And so when you go to our website, I know you're going to download that PDF. I minimize my ask of you just to the email, because there's so many tools that can enrich that now to anything. If I want to know your social security number, I'll find it. Just give me your email. And then you can go back and continue reading that article, but now I have your email. And so that is the tactic of turning anonymous readers from LinkedIn to known leads on my website that now give me their email, just about continuing that flow from the ungated article to the gated article, knowing in what zone you are, and just doing that rinse and repeat. And every time we publish an article with a premium asset like that, we see thousands of downloads of the premium asset because we know how to distribute and amplify the public article so enough people see it. We optimize for reach, and then the premium article optimizes for conversion. And by marrying those two together, we make the magic happen.
This is the most actionable show of all time.
I agree.
All right, so I
agree, man. Like, take notes.
You asked for tactical, pragmatic lessons.
All right, I have a couple thoughts. That was incredible. Yeah, I know it sounds like you're like, oh, I'm just, but no, so actionable. So one is there a list of swear words that work best on sales calls? Because I need that more as an audit to make sure I'm using the right ones.
We actually looked it up. Yeah. I mean, there was kind of the usual suspects. You know, the S word, the F bomb. They showed up pretty nicely. Some of them were softer, but it did surprise us, and of course it made for an internet field day when we published that salespeople who swear have an 8% higher win rate. I mean, that was a marketer's dream, because fastcompany.com ran with the story, earning us more visibility than I could ever pay for. When they ran with the story, radio stations started calling me, asking to interview me on air about the story they just read because it was so interesting. And it just kept circulating more and more. And of course, LinkedIn had a field day with about 2/3 of the audience commenting with their most colorful vocabulary, saying like, yeah, that's what I've been talking about. And Mary, come see this shit. That's what I've been talking about, and so on. And the other third being appalled that we would suggest using this kind of language in a professional setting. But Craig, before we started recording this podcast today, we were talking about something else. And I told you that you're winning because your biggest enemy is not people hating what you're doing, it's indifference. And that's exactly what we avoided by talking about salespeople swearing. We did not get indifference. We had some people love it, some people hate it, but that is the marketer's dream, for everyone to have an opinion and be passionate about getting engaged in the discussion.
Hey, so there's a LinkedIn whisperer named Alec Paul. I don't know if you know him, and we've had him on the show, and he was telling me about Adam Robinson, and he was saying like, look, dude, he is totally okay with 45% of the people on the comment string ripping him, because he knows that's how that sort of not visitor ball, but like traffic ball rolls uphill or downhill, right? And it's like, for what you said, I mean, he creates posts that get people talking on LinkedIn and elsewhere, and that there's only good things that come from that. Second thing, so when people do the similar play that Udi runs, but then they say, type in so-and-so in the comments to receive it. I've done 4 of those and I've received 2. Is that a bait and switch? Are people actually, I mean, honestly, like, I'm like, oh, that sounds really interesting. I'll write in, I forget, whatever they asked me to write. And then out of the 4 that I've done that for, I've gotten 2. The other 2, I'm like, well, fuck you. You just used me to get traffic. And I'm like, wait a minute. Is this like, I don't know. Have you tried that?
I can tell you that, no, I have not tried that. The only time I did anything similar that just looks similar, but has nothing of that motive under it, was when I was assembling a reviews team for my book. So 6 months ago, I was preparing for the launch of my book, Courageous Marketing, and I wanted to get a few hundred people to read a free copy, and when the book was published, to write their review on Amazon. So I ended up writing a similar post, which was basically saying, folks, I'm giving away 300 copies of my book, and if you just comment me or something like that, I'll send you a link to my book. But I actually made sure to send 100% of the people the link, and it just looked like one of those posts, but I was not trying to create traffic or anything like that. I've heard from folks like Alec and others that tactic works, which is why people use it. LinkedIn algorithm hasn't quite figured it out yet, so it gives them the traffic. I agree with you. Like, I don't love them, but I think if you're going to employ them, you should absolutely hold up your reputation and get back to everyone with what they asked for. If they took the time to engage in your post and ask for something, you should send that to them. But just not my style, and I don't do that.
Yeah. Matt, have you tested any of that?
We haven't done those posts ourselves.
Post a landing page?
Yeah, we haven't done any of those posts. We've sort of thought about it, and like I think some of the people on my marketing team are like, like everybody does that, and like, yeah, but it still seems to work.
Yeah, I mean, everybody brushes their teeth, and that's not a good reason not to do it because everyone's doing it. I would say if you're going to experiment, you probably want to mix it up, like maybe do one a month of those, and then try other formats. Don't get exhausting.
But for you, on the other hand, what you're saying is, no, I can get people to a landing page. Because one of the big issues for like let's say a non-household brand B2B company is you can email all you want. You're not going to get the form fills that you're, of 2015, right? Like it's hard.
That depends, Greg. That depends. I agree that brand helps getting responses and clicks on emails and links and that sort of thing, but it's really all about the offer, right? I've been a student of email marketing for the last 2 decades, and the basic rules haven't changed all that much. I mean, here are the first ones that I'm a big believer in. The only purpose of the subject line is to get people to open the email. Now that sounds so obvious, but if you look at your inbox right now, you'll see that 99 out of 100 emails don't follow that rule. They're trying to either sell you in the subject line or tell you their entire history or trying to get cute or smart instead of just getting to the point. The only point of the subject line is to get you to open the email. Once you've done that, the point of the first line is to get you to read the second line. And the purpose of the second line, etc., until you get to the call to action. The point of the call to action is to get you to do something. And there are rules of what makes a good call to action. You have to make it super easy. You have to make it clear. You have to make it clear what's in it for you. And most call to actions don't follow that. They put something vague. They put something that you're afraid to click because you think it's spam. So these things are pretty easy to engineer, right? Now, if you do all that right and you have a big brand name like Gong, then you're going to get more clicks. But if I did this before Gong was a big brand name, I was the first marketer at Gong. And trust me when I say we had zero brand when I joined. Nobody in the world knew who we were. I could still get people to open the emails because Chris Orlob was writing great posts about, it was the last day of the quarter. I was 150K short on my quota. I had no idea how I'm going to make it. And then this is what I did. Now you're going to click to read the end of that story, right?
Right.
You don't care which brand it comes from. You're a salesperson. You want to see how Chris made up for 150K. So it's all about the copy, the call to action, beautiful writing, clarity of thought.
Well said. Well said. Okay, the third one is a bit of a diversion, except I thought of bait and switch when I was thinking about other people, not you. Mm-hmm. Did you guys see where there was a flood on X of fake women posting that they were joining a company and it was a traffic play? Did you hear about this?
I have not, and I have to admit that I don't really live on X. I think the last time I posted there was like 2016.
Yeah. No problem. That's fine too. But yeah, Albro sent it over, and it was like basically, okay, so here's the message. Hey, I'm Chow, and I'm excited to be joining, a Twitter handle for a company as chief of staff. Still in high school, just relocated to SF, looking for more friends in tech and the startup scene, and it's a very attractive woman, okay? And then I'm just going to read you a different woman who wrote, hey, I've just joined the team at ... as the one and only intern. We'll be working with so-and-so and so-and-so and the rest of the team. It's the same message, different thing. So these guys were all doing this as a bait and switch traffic grab, because I looked on the people's profile. There's maybe 2 other posts, and they're all pictures of this allegedly person. Here was the other one play that these guys ran. So they said, so it was an attractive woman, this one scantily clad to say the least. Okay. I'm based in SF and looking to meet more friends in the startup world and tech community. A little bit about me. I taught myself how to code. Gee, I wonder who the target was here. I love surfing and I enjoy running marathons. Let's grab coffee or do a fun activity this fall. Same message from another fake person. So this guy had pointed out, he said, I'm seeing a trend here. And then all these guys started calling out. Basically, it was these startups, primarily consumer, using these fake people to drive people to their Twitter handle or X handle or whatever you call it these days. Talk about a bait and switch, man. That is some dirty pool.
I don't like that.
Bad.
If you're starting a relationship with your audience or future buyers by being dishonest, that's not a great start. That is not a great start.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
So yeah, maybe you have my temporary following, or maybe you have my email address, but that's not a great start to a relationship, because you're killing any trust that we had. And we all know that in business, just like in life, relationships are all about trust. If I can't trust you, like we're not going to be doing business together.
100%. And with a consumer, it's the same B2B or consumer brain. It's the same thing. It's like, yeah.
I mean, we all hear and see these scams, and we've probably fallen prey to them every now and again when they're new and we don't even know about them, or we were kind of multitasking and not noticing what we were clicking. We've all been victims of phishing attempts and other scams. I don't think this is any different. Again, I don't know this company. I don't know what their end goal was and what they're trying to accomplish, but there's always going to be bad actors out there. And I think using these techniques, even if you think you have a good ethical goal at the end, I don't think that's ever warranted, because you're just breaking whatever trust you had.
I totally agree. All right, so let me ask you guys this. I'll go back to the more relevant thought that I had as you were talking. So because you guys kill it on LinkedIn. You do so well. When you decide on content, and what came first? You created the content piece, or you think of it together? Like, will this play on LinkedIn? And what's the follow-up? Or do you create a content piece and say, ooh, that will play on LinkedIn? Or like, how do you guys generate that amazing content? Like, what can we learn from you guys on that? Because that was a great story. And I can't wait to pass that along. Yeah.
I'll answer in 3 points of how we do this. Number one, it's always about the message and the theme. So the Gong content team has a content calendar, as most teams have. It's always just the base plan, which life is going to smack around and change a little bit as global and social events and industry events change what people are focused on. We're not going to stick to something. When the pandemic started, we scrapped our content calendar in favor of what was actually happening, of course. So it starts with, let's say we know that this quarter we have a big product announcement. We just made some very big product announcements in the last few days at our Celebrate conference. So those are going to be the content theme that you're going to be hearing more and more about this quarter. So that's what we're trying to get out there. Now we're looking at how can we produce the most effective, engaging content that gets that message across. To do that, we are avid students of our main social media platform, which is LinkedIn. That means like really testing and understanding every week what's currently trending on the algorithm, what people are responding to. It turns out recently that putting your links in the comments is actually detracting traffic from the post and not the other way around like it used to be. There are times where plain text posts are going to be doing better than images. There are going to be times where video does better than images. You have to keep testing, because what was true last month is not true this month. And I'll get back with a funny anecdote maybe to end that story. And then the third thing that we do is we also seize opportunities. So we have at Gong, and this has been a kind of trademark of ours for many years, to encourage Gongsters to freely write about whatever they want. They don't need to get anything approved by corporate comms or legal or anything like that. They're very loose social media guidelines at Gong. I think they're like 1.5 pages long, which basically say like, don't shit on our competitors, but and don't give away our trade secrets, but other than that, you can do whatever you want. And so they do. And we've got a ton of gifted writers and social media posters at Gong. When we see them do something cool, oftentimes Gong will share that on the official corporate profile, giving it more traffic and encouraging more people to do that. And so we know how to seize these opportunities. And we also have a content council at Gong, which is a few dozen people outside of the marketing team. So people from sales and customer success and other functions who enjoy creating content on social media. And the content team guides us like, this is the theme this month. What can we do to help you create content about this? So for example, once a quarter, we'll get the whole content council together for a video shooting day where we'll put out maybe 40 videos that day. And then we can sprinkle those across the next few weeks until we get together again. So that's examples of what we do. And maybe I'll end with a really fun anecdote. So a while ago, I was reading the LinkedIn developers blog. That's a thing. It's the LinkedIn engineering blog. Google has one and every platform has one. If you really want to geek out on what they're doing on their algorithm and what they're testing, that's the place to go. And I saw on the LinkedIn engineering blog that one of the engineers wrote a blog about testing a dwell factor in their feed algorithm. And in simple terms, what that means is they figured that if someone stops scrolling and stares at your post for a while, they should reward that post with more visibility because you've clearly done something to make them stop scrolling. So my childish mind goes, well, what could I do to make someone stop scrolling and stare at my post? So I Slack my creative team and said, hey, can you create a Where's Waldo type image, but hide something in the dog, our bulldog mascot in it? So the next day they give me an image with Bruno the dog and I go ahead and post that. And it got a ton of engagement. A, because it was fun, but two, because I hacked into that dwell factor that was very new and very few people even knew about at that point. And then I wrote another post, which was a breakdown of what I had done there. And that one got even more engagement because people were excited to learn about how I hacked it. So this is what I mean about like focus. You can't do this for 20 platforms. Nobody has the resources. Like you pick the one or two where you know you're going to make the most impact, which is of course where your audience is. And then you go really, really deep so you can optimize your content to that platform and then repurpose it to the others if you have to. But there's no way you can do this on a dozen platforms.
Boom.
I mean, what more is there to say?
Not much.
How long have you got?
Great end to the show. That was a great end to the show, man.
That was awesome.
Well, I will say this was an excellent show. I learned a ton, and it was fun.
Yeah.
So you were able to achieve the goals of the transaction, which is to have some fun talking about some real things people can go do. So I'm going to start with thank you, man. That was great.
That was great.
My pleasure, folks. Thank you so much for having me, Matt, Craig. It's been a pleasure.
And we'll have the book in the show notes. See, I got a show notes mentioned.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. And we should talk more about some courageous marketing at some point. But
yes, all these stories and much more in courageous marketing. Go get your copy if you haven't yet.
I got to get you to sign mine.
I will. I will. My pleasure.
Let's do it. All right, guys. Take the rest of the day off. Great job.
Thank you, folks. Have a good one.
All right, man.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Transaction. Craig and I really appreciate the fact that you've listened all the way to the end. What are you actually doing here? For show notes and other episodes, please visit us at thetransactionpod.com. Like and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other place you get your podcast from. Either you have walked away from your podcast device, or this is playing somewhere in the background. Someone in your house would really like for you to shut this off now.